So today is Sunday, January 13th, 2019, and I decided to head over to Toronto Islands to go skating. From the Jack Layton Ferry Terminal, I boarded the William English Ferry to Wards Island. This boat was built in 1935 and is the oldest boat in the City of Toronto's fleet of ferries. Most of the passengers stay on the lower deck where it's heated, but I decided to go and sit on the upper deck. The time is 12:30 p.m. and the air temperature is -6, but it feels really nice in the sunshine. In the summer, the Toronto Harbour is full of many boats heading in every direction, but at this time of the year it's very quiet. The ferry ride takes only about 10 minutes and costs $7.87 for a round trip. From the Wards Island dock, I made my way off the boat and headed west along the pathway. Having never been to Toronto Islands in January before, I wasn't entirely sure where the skating spots were. When I visited last month, the person I met on the ferry told me that in the winter the lagoons between the islands freeze over, and if it's cold enough you can skate pretty much from one end of the island to the other. I figured I'd be able to get a good look at the ice in the lagoons from atop the wooden bridge to Algonquin Island. The water is definitely frozen over, but I don't see anyone skating on it or even see any tracks on the ice yet. What also concerns me is that when I look straight down, I can actually see through to the bottom, so perhaps this ice isn't very thick. However, when I headed a bit further down the lagoon, I found a group of people skating just across from the fire hall. As I sat down to put on my skates, I felt very welcome as the other skaters introduced themselves to me. A woman asked if I was planning on skating down the channel, and I said that of course I was interested, but never had done it before. She said that a group had already gone, and then I might be able to catch up with them. So I made my way up the channel following the tracks in the ice left from the other skaters. I figured that in the spots where they've already skated, the ice must be thick enough for me to skate on safely. The gap between Algonquin Island and Snake Island is a really common photo op spot for visitors to the island. What you can see around my neck here are homemade ice picks, which I made this morning. Their purpose is that if I do happen to fall through the ice, they'll give my hands better traction, so I'll be able to pull myself back out again. In this area I can hear the ice making a rumbling sound under my skates, and I can see through to the bottom. The ice is probably quite a bit thinner here, which explains why the tracks from the other skaters are right near the shore. I'm just passing under this small pedestrian bridge, which leads to Snake Island. This next island over here on the right is Chippewa Island. As I was skating, I started to hear that rumbling sound again, and being pretty far away from any other skaters, I started to get scared. I stopped and decided to test the ice with my ice pick. After confirming that the ice felt pretty hard and thick, I continued skating. I made it all the way to the bridge which goes to Chippewa Island, but noticed that all the other tracks turn around here. The ice under the bridge does look pretty thin, so I guess this is as far as I can go. However, as I was making my way back towards the fire hall, I passed a group of skaters heading in the opposite direction. Even though I had already been all the way to Chippewa Island and back on my own, I decided to join them. When we got to the bridge where I had turned around, they agreed that it wasn't safe to skate over it, but instead they led the way onto the shore, and we crawled on our hands and knees over to the other side of the bridge where the ice was thick again. So with that hurdle out of the way, we continued down the channel past South Island and then around Center Island. When we got to the bridge which leads to Center Island, the experienced islanders recommended that we detour onto the land to get past another thin section of ice. After we crawled our way to the other side, we're now at an area known as Long Pond with lots of open ice to skate on. Even though the ice seemed pretty thick here, I was still a bit nervous because the other skaters showed me a spot where someone had fallen through the ice yesterday. But they also gave me lots of great tips, such as to avoid spots where you can see big bubbles under the ice like here, which is actually methane gas, not air. Another piece of advice is that although it's a good idea to always skate in groups, you don't want to actually skate too close together so your weight stays spread out. When we got to the point, there were people out roasting marshmallows over a campfire. Beyond there, nobody had skated on the ice yet, so I was a bit nervous as we continued. However, the other people I was with are actually part of a group who get together regularly to skate here, so they have a lot of experience and local knowledge. As we're now heading into Hanlon's Bay, I recognize the shoreline where I've often looked out to the water where I'm now standing. It's really neat getting to see the island from all these new vantage points. Straight ahead is the Gibraltar Point Lighthouse, which was built in 1808 and is the oldest standing lighthouse on any of the Great Lakes. So after we made it to Hanlon's Island, we turned around and headed back. As you can see, aside from those two bridges we needed to bypass, we skated all the way from Algonquin Island to Gibraltar Point. I had an absolute blast today, and when the conditions are right for it, I'd highly recommend skating here. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please leave a comment below and let me know what you thought, and thanks for watching.